So this week's project, we're going to make a new hay feeder. I run small batches of beef, so 2 cows. I think next year or this upcoming year I'm going to try 3. So big round bales or large square bales don't make sense for me, and I don't have any equipment, so I wouldn't be able to roll them out anyway. So what I do is I buy a couple hundred small square bales, and then I used to feed them right on the ground, and it's good. I mean, I get some seeding, but the cows waste a lot too. They trample a lot, they lay in it, and that's not ideal when I'm trying to, you know, be as economical as possible, still getting some seeding effect while feeding the cows out on pasture. So what I do is I make feeders out of IBC totes, and it works incredibly well. I get almost no wasted hay. Cows eat it all, and then at the end, if there's some chaff and stuff in the bottom, which is good seed anyway, I throw it out on the ground, so I still get that effect as well. So I'll show you last year's, and then I'll show you the one I'm going to build this year, since the cows, like 4 or 5 years, they destroy it. So here's the metal piece of last year, or I say last year's, but the tote I used last year. This tote lasted me like 4 years. When it came, it was already cut down the middle there for whatever purpose the previous owner was using this tote for. So that weakened it. But you can see the cows, they lean on it, they bend it. This is all bent in, and they're just generally rough. So what I'm going to do is cut up a new one. We're going to do exactly what this guy did. We're going to be very careful to cut these in on an angle so that the cows aren't stabbing themselves on any kind of sharp metal. Then I'll hit it with a file or a grinder just to make it nice and dull. And this one's ready for the scrap pile anyway. It's beat to death. And then the tote itself, you can see I bored holes in the bottom of it for drainage so you don't get snow and whatever else sitting in there making a wet mess. And then I don't know if this next one has a cap like that. If it does, I'll take the cap off like they did. And then for whatever reason, they had a notch cut in it. I don't know what the purpose of that notch is, but I'm not going to put one in there. This holds 2 small square bales perfectly. And then on top, once you put your bales in, you just fasten together a piece of cattle panel onto 2 pieces of fence post with a couple 2x4s between it. That fits perfectly inside the tote and goes down on top. And then the cows have to fish through that metal for their hay, and they don't waste it that way. They don't pick it up and throw it around. And this thing here, it may last forever. I mean, it's all pressure treated and galvanized, so I'm going to continue to use that until it's disintegrated. Right now it's perfectly good, so I'll reuse that piece. So let's go look at the new tote. So here's the tote we're going to use. This is a food grade tote, but that's not necessary. You don't need a food grade tote. We're going to cut it right here on this 3rd rung, 3rd from the bottom. That's the perfect height for a cow to kind of get his face in there. And then we will take that yellow or orange cap off, and we'll actually flip this tote over, put it in there, and then cut it off flush so that we're using the top of the tote as the bottom, as the feeding portion. That way we're not losing space due to that nozzle down there. I'll probably take this thing off too if I can. Looks like it's just clamped on there. No reason to have any extra metal out there. But let's get this apart, get it marked up, and get it cut. First, we got to take these metal bars off the top. It's just a Torx screw right there. That'll all be scrap metal. Then I can remove the tote itself. Then we'll take an angle grinder and just cut right down at an angle on all these all the way around. I'll pop this off however it comes off. Probably beat it off with a hammer. Then we'll flip the tote back around, get it back in there, and use a utility knife or maybe some snips to cut it to the exact right height, and it'll be ready to go. attaching on the handle. So this metal plate is held on just by, like, I don't know if you can see that there, but there's rivets on these two clamps. That's all that's holding it on there. So I'm gonna get a pair of dikes, I think, or snips, and cut this here and see if I can get this off the easy way. Now that that's all trimmed up, got a lot of little burrs here. I'm just going to come around with that grinder and neaten up each of these cuts so that there's no sharp edges that are cutting the cow's faces or, you know, causing any other problems. And then we'll cut the tote. Now they're all neatened up, no burrs, nothing that's going to hurt a cow's face or put metal into their body. So now we can throw the tote in and get it marked up so we can cut it. Remember, I'm flipping the tote upside down so that I'm not messing with the bung. It's not an exact science. I actually want the tote to be a hair larger than this. So I'm just kind of holding the Sharpie at an angle. About a 1/4 inch higher all the way around. The cows don't care if it's exact. Now that it's marked, we'll take it back out. I'll put a yardstick on it to get a good line. Then I'll cut it with a utility knife. Nothing really to hold it by. a little notch so I can get started. Then I got a hook blade on the utility knife, should make quick work. Just a little piece. So now that we have our bin cut where the hay is going to sit, I'm going to go grab a biggest drill bit I got and punch 5, 6, 10 holes in the bottom here. Give it good drainage in the low spots so that we're not holding water in the winter. You can see this thing's already perforated, so we don't have to worry about it holding water. And then we'll be done. So, biggest bit I had handy is 1/2 inch, but that's plenty. Just put a bunch of holes in it. And that's the end result. This will last me hopefully another 10 years. And you can see I cut the plastic a hair above the metal, so when the cow's getting down on here, even though I didn't leave any burrs, they're not messing with the frame itself. They're eventually going to bang it up. When you're moving this around your pasture, if you have a machine, you can just throw a strap on it and drag it. Otherwise, it's easy enough to drag by hand, especially once it's snowing. it'll skid on the snow quite nicely. This is probably my weak spot there, because that's where the natural crimp is in the cage, but we'll get some years out of this. You can see all the way around, the plastic's up above the edge of the metal. It'll hold 2 bales of hay perfectly side by side. Lots of hole for drainage, so that we're not, you know, getting nasty hay out there with water in it. So when it gets down to the bottom, like this here, will collect a bunch of chaff and stuff. You just pick it out and throw it in your field. Otherwise, you won't waste any hay using this. So if you're small like me, as far as farm size, then you need to save money where you can. You know, cows, the price of cows is always going up. If you're able to raise 2 or 3 and put half in the freezer for yourself and your family, and then sell the rest to cover your costs and maybe make a small profit, then, you know, you're eating beef on your own labor, which is the way to do it. And you know what's going into those cows. And when you're feeding them hay, hay's expensive too. So if you don't have any equipment and you want to start kind of bare bones, a lot of people do, then, you know, you don't need to buy fancy hay feeders or big round feeders or anything. You gotta, you know, IBC totes are free or cheap at least. It doesn't need to be food grade, although I wouldn't get one that held anything too nasty. And then cut it up and it'll work well. These guys here, I don't know if we can see them. Yeah, there they are. So they used it all last year and it did just fine. Those guys trained themselves to it in minutes last year because they're hungry and it's full of good food. So, and then I just drag it around. I usually do an animal control area right over there, but this year I think I'm going to move the cows all throughout this pasture all winter long. That way their manure is never kind of accumulating in one area that I got to move it out later. So even though the snow will be deep, we're going to move these guys around. Not these guys will be in the freezer. But 2 guys that look just like you, huh? Yeah, good cows. Those guys got about 6 weeks left. So save money, make your own equipment, or buy stuff on the secondhand market. You don't need new equipment, and you'll find that it works. If it lasts you 5 years and saves you thousands of dollars, it's a no-brainer. So that's this week's project. Hope you liked it, and again, easy to build. So feel free to let anybody else know that is feeding a small number of cattle, and they'll probably find this useful. I might have to do something about that rooster. He crows a lot. Anyway, have a great week.